Assalamualaikum everyone. So I was reading a lot about history of the Palestine and Israel conflict, and I wanted to share the information with you people. So there's a lot of history going to be in this discussion. If you do not like history, this topic is not for you. However, if you do want to know the detail of what's happening around in the Muslim world, what was the background, then do continue. Now, the conflict in the Middle East and this region particularly starts with World War One. That's 1914. Before we go into that detail, let's discuss the power structure of the world back then. Now we know that Britain is the superpower back then, and Britain, Italy, France, Russia, and the US. They are one block, which are called the Allies for World War One, and the other block is Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Now the Austro-Hungarian Empire, of course, as the name says, Austria, Hungary, Slovenia, Czech Republic, Bosnia, Croatia, these all countries are in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So what happens in 1914 is that the Archduke of Austro-Hungarian Empire, Franz Ferdinand, he's murdered by the Serbs. And this of course angers Germany and Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they demand persecution of the murderers from Serbs, and they say that if you fail to do so, we are going to start a war with you. And of course Serbia doesn't do anything and requests Russia to support them because they're in that bloc, and the war begins. Russia, England, Britain, UK, France and US versus Germany and the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So how come in this totally European conflict Muslims enter? That's the interesting part. And comes the Ottoman Empire. Now the Ottoman Empire, we know that controls all of Palestine and Jordan, that area. That's part of the Ottoman Empire. Till 1800s, the Ottomans were actually very backward in technology, and they used to rely on Britain to get technology and professional experts and everything, and they technically depended on Britain. But by 1880s, the Britain actually disconnects with the Ottoman Empire, and British say that you have to fare for yourself, and we will no longer support you. And of course, I believe that's part of the bigger plan Britain had for the future, and that's why they disconnected from the Ottoman Empire. So naturally, the Ottomans look for the second most advanced, technically advanced country in the UK and Europe to get their needs fulfilled, and that's Germany. And they develop very good relationship with Germany, and they do a lot of projects together. The Ottoman Empire and Germany, one of the big projects is the Orient Express. I'm sure you all have seen the movie Murder on the Orient Express. That's actually, Orient Express is a project between Ottoman Empire and Germans. The train started off from Berlin, and the last stop was Istanbul. So socially, economically and technically they form very good ties. So naturally, when World War One happens, Ottomans are expected to join with Germany, but the Ottoman Caliphate back then, Sultan Mehmed the Fifth, he's aware that the empire is weak, and if they get in the war, it might damage the empire altogether. So he stays neutral. But what happens is that secretly there's this revolution going on in Turkey. That's the Young Turks revolution. They align they have the real power actually in the government. Caliph is just the face of the government. They, with the war ministry, the war minister in Istanbul was Anwar Pasha and Said Pasha, and the Young Turks, they actually in secret meet with the German Kaiser, and they commit that yes, if there's going to be a war, Ottoman Empire will support Germany. Later on, the Caliph finds out about this pact, and of course he has to give in to this. So that's how Ottomans are dragged into the war. So since Ottomans are with the Germans, allies naturally are now looking to finish or fight against the Ottoman Empire and damage it. So the first one of the battles that Ottomans fight with the allies is the Battle of Gallipoli. There's a couple of movies on that war as well, and actually the Ottomans win that war, the battle of Gallipoli against Brits and France. But in the long run, as we know from history in the World War One, that Muslims suffered from 1914 to 1918. The Brits captured Damascus, Jerusalem. They captured even Istanbul, and they were also looking to further weaken the Ottoman Empire. So what they do is they identify a potential opportunity by the name of Hussein ibn Ali. Now, Hussein ibn Ali is the 40th descendant of the Prophet ﷺ. He's the Amir of Makkah and Medina. He's in charge of the affairs. Although there's an Ottoman Caliph, but Ottomans have given him autonomy to manage this area out of the respect of the family of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Brits actually make an offer to Hussein ibn Ali that if you rebel against the Ottomans and you start a war with them, weaken them, we are going to make you Khalifa, the Caliph, after the war of the whole area, Hijaz, Syria, Turkey, and all the Muslim area that Ottomans control at the moment. We're going to make you the Caliph of. And of course, Hussein ibn Ali, he wants to be a Caliph, and he agrees to this proposal, and he starts a rebellion against the Ottoman Empire from within, and he starts a war with them. That's 1915. Now, Brits at the same time in 1915, there's a secret meeting between Britain, Russia, and France to decide what are they going to do with the Muslim regions after the war. Now, please note that they already have committed that to the Arabs, to Hussein ibn Ali, but of course they're double crossing. And they decide that after the war, Istanbul, Turkey is going to go with Russia because it provides a warm water path. Syria is going to be taken, and that area is going to be taken by France, and Hijaz and Palestine and Jordan and this whole area is going to be taken by the Brits. This agreement is called the Sykes-Picot Agreement. It was a secret agreement, but since in 1917 the Tsars of Russia, who actually made this agreement, they were ousted, they were killed, and Bolsheviks family they overtook Russia, and they actually exposed all the secret dealings of Tsars to the world, and the world actually came to know about this agreement in 1917. And of course the Arabs also knew that so the Brits have done this, but as always, Arabs are they said, okay, fine, maybe the Brits did not mean anything bad by this, and it's going to turn out good, and they're going to fulfill the commitments with us. So they're hopeful, ignorantly hopeful, I would say. Now in 1940, that's double dealing on Brits' part. At the same time, there's another pact going on between Brits and the Jewish community of Europe, which of course is a very powerful banking community with a lot of industry and clout. And the Jews want an independent Jewish state in Palestine. And there are negotiations with the British government that after the war we want an independent state in this area. And there's this very famous, powerful Jew by the name of Chaim Weizmann, I think, yeah. That's the first president of Israel also, I think. Chaim Weizmann actually, pressurizes the British Parliament, and he's actually an industrialist. So he has a lot of industry of acetone. At that time, acetone was, it's used to make bombs. So he makes an offer that I'm going to support the Brits and provide all the material required for this arsenal, as long as Britain promises an independent Jewish state in Palestine. So there's this pact also going on. So there are three. So the Brits are actually, committing the same land to three different parties. That's where the actual conflict is rooted. And in the long run, the British Parliament also takes votes on this, that should we give Palestine, make an independent Jewish state in Palestine, and at that time I was reading that there was only one Jew parliamentarian, and he actually disagreed with the whole proposal, and he said that this is going to create a rift between Muslims and Jews, which have been living peacefully in this region for hundreds of years and without any conflict. Muslims have always been very, cordial with the Jews, and as opposed to Christians who actually slaughtered a lot of Jews. Muslims were always considerate. So he said that it's going to create an issue, but as always, money wins, and the parliament actually votes in the favor of having an independent Jewish state in the area of Palestine, which is very famously known as the Balfour Declaration, where Arthur Balfour sends a letter to Lord Rothschild confirming that yes, Britain is going to give an independent Jewish state to the Jews after the war in that region. So in 1918 the war ends. When the war ends, there's of course a lot of vacuum in the whole area. 20% of the male population of every country has passed away. Then because of this, the structural damage and the damage to the land, there's no food, so famine happens, and a lot of people die. At least 3 times more people die from famine than from the war. And then there's this also the bird flu, H1N1 virus, which is very famously known as the Spanish influenza, which happens at that time. So Europe is in a very bad shape after World War I, and they're recovering. So what happens is that in 1919, these big countries, they all gather in Paris by the name of Paris Peace Agreements to decide what is going to happen after the war, since they, of course, obviously have promised multiple parties. So the Jews come forward with their own commitment, and the Arabs, Hussein ibn Ali's sons, actually, they bring their own commitment that yes, Brits have committed the whole area to us. And what happens is that there's this commission formed by President Woodrow Wilson, that's famously known as the King Crane Commission. And the objective of that commission is to go out actually in the field in Palestine and see that if a Jewish state is made in that region, will that be a good idea? And will the Jews will the Palestinians accept an independent Jewish state in that region? And that commission goes and, they meet the common folk and they see the whole area. And they come back with the result that no, it's not possible, because this region has less than 3% Jews, and all of them, we cannot possibly have an independent Jewish state in this region. It's not recommended. But of course, as always, the commission is disregarded, and it's decided in the favor of the Jews that yes, we're going to have a country there out of all the other places in the world, because that's what the Jews wanted, the Holy Land, the holy place. And so I think the Treaty of Versailles also happens in the Paris Peace Conferences, where a part of Syria is given to France. Britain takes all of the Hijaz, Lebanon, Jordan, this area. And when Britain takes that, the sons of Hussein ibn Ali, they actually come forward and they present their claims to the area as per the previous commitment. And so Britain agrees, and they agree on this terms that we're going to place you on these regions, but we'll be the actual power. We're just going to be, the face of our government. So the eldest son is given Hijaz, which is the Saudi region, and the middle son is given Jordan. Abdullah, I think, he declares himself as king of Hashemite, and the last son, Faisal, of Hussein ibn Ali, he's given the area of Iraq. But of course, Iraqi people do not accept him, and he's ousted eventually. Now the Brits once again double cross Hussein ibn Ali's sons, and at one place they're funding them, they're supporting them, they rule, and at the same time they through another channel approach the family of South, and they start giving money and weapons to the South family to counter and attack the family of Hussein ibn Ali, which Ali ibn Hussein, which is the king of Hijaz now, placed by the Brits. So they're double crossing once again, and Sauds fight a war with Ali ibn Hussein. They eventually win, and hence the whole area is now Saudi Arabia, lands of the South. So the Brits once again show their true colors. And I think Abdullah, who was given Jordan, his family is still in Jordan, and they're still the rulers. So the king of Hashemites, I think they're Hashemites they're called, and that they're called because he's the progeny of Hussein ibn Ali, which is of course the from the line of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's why king of Hashemites is called. So the war ends, and with these kinds of disputed things, now it's decided that yes, Britain is going to form an independent Jewish state in the area of Palestine. That's part one of this video. I'm going to make a part two, where which I'll tell you about what actually happened in Palestine and what caused it to be in the state which it is in. So thank you. Till the next time.